Boris Johnson has said the UK's relations with Russia are not on a good footing, but he wants them to improve, after talks in Moscow. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the UK of making insulting statements ahead of the meeting, but he said he trusted Mr. Johnson and they had agreed on the need to work together on Security Council. Mr. Johnson is the first UK Foreign Secretary to visit Russia in 5 years. Mr. Lavrov said it was no secret that Britain's relations with Russia were at a low point, and he rebuked Mr. Johnson for speaking publicly on issues ahead of their meeting, saying Russia preferred to talk privately. Mr. Johnson acknowledged the difficulties in relations with Russia, adding, "It is a regrettable state of affairs, but it should not preclude cooperation." He said they had identified common ground on issues such as North Korea, Syria and trade. But he said differences remained regarding Ukraine and Russia's activities in cyberspace. Mr. Johnson's trip follows Prime Minister Theresa May's accusation last month that Russia was trying to undermine free societies. Ahead of the meeting in Moscow, the UK government said Mr. Johnson would warn Russia to stop cyber attacks which threaten Britain's national security or face retaliation of a similar kind from the UK. BBC diplomatic correspondent James Robbins says that relations between the two countries are at best very bad, at worst, appalling. The UK Prime Minister warned in November about the risks of Russia's sustained campaign of cyber espionage and disruption. Her criticisms were repeated by Siren Martin, chief executive of GCHQ's National Cybersecurity Center, who said that Russia was seeking to undermine the international system. Presentational Grey Line, not business as usual by BBC diplomatic correspondent James Robbins. So what's the point of this meeting, which has been cancelled twice before? From Britain's perspective, it's to persuade Russia, as a fellow permanent member of the Security Council, to cooperate against common threats, from North Korea in particular, but also from a ruined Syria where no peace settlement is in sight. The Russian Foreign Ministry says Russia is interested in seeking a way to normalize relations with Britain, and to reactivate cooperation. But Boris Johnson says it cannot simply be a return to business as usual. There are low expectations of any substantial progress.